Hi, everyone. It is Jamie Jo Wright here at Madlet Musings, and I'm excited today because this is going to be a very fun conversation because I have with me the author, Jen Turano. Hi, Jen.
Hey Jamie, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm excited to have you on the podcast because we haven't had a chance to sit down and chat before.
We have not chatted before on a
Yeah,
podcast
no,
ever. So
I
this
don't
is a
think
first.
I'm not sure we've chatted in person, have we?
I was thinking about that. I don't think we have.
No, I
Unless
think
we've like run across each other maybe at like a conference and said hi, but we've
right.
never sat down and had a conversation.
No, it's been more like a passing, if anything.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Yes.
All right. I thought that, but then I was like, great, I'm going to ask that. And then I'm going to find out we've had some really deep conversations that just,
We actually, yes, we sat down and we talked world issues like about 3 years ago. I can't believe you don't remember that.
just a second, let me go get my morning medication for Alzheimer's. I can crack
Exactly.
up, I can crack jokes about Alzheimer's because my dad has early Alzheimer's. And what's terrible is every time I call him, I'm the one that keeps forgetting things. And so he started cracking jokes about me coming over in the morning to take my medications from his closet because
Oh
he's like, you're the
my.
one that needs them.
That is cute. That is
It
too
is.
cute.
It's really fun. So sometimes you got to joke about the heavier things in life.
You do. Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. But you have a new book coming out, To Spark a Match, which
I do.
sounds like a flaming good story. Look at
It
that.
is it's very sparky. I did not come up with the title
You
for this
didn't.
book. A little bit, you know what? Rachel Benz came up with this one, I believe.
Oh, she's good at that.
Yeah, and but what people don't know is I rarely come up with my titles. Wait, you know what?
Okay.
This is like I'm not going to be able to see, but that glare is driving me crazy. Um, I I've only come up with two titles ever this whole entire time I've been out, like for 20 something books. I came up with the title for my very first release, which was a novella that
Okay.
I wrote after my first series. It was called Gentleman of Her Dreams. It was kind of an experiment. That was when you first saw people offering like free books and everything online,
Right.
right?
Yep.
So I was had a schedule, and Rayla
Hmm.
Shane Hair she was my editor for $20.
Right.
She said, "Hey, what do you think? Because you're so ahead of a schedule about doing a novella, and we'll release it for free. And then that way, because I do have a weird writing style. I readily admit that you're either going to love me or you're not, and I have letters to prove that." Um, so I chose that with Gentlemen of Our Dreams. I titled, and then I actually this is the other one I titled. This is the first book in the Matchmaker series,
Yes.
a Match in the Making.
That's a
That
good title.
right? I
Yeah.
surprised myself. Haven't come up with another one since. So
Hey,
yeah, so this is a book that's coming out to spark a match.
To
And I
Spark a
have to put
Match.
my glasses back on because you were like really blurry. Okay, I'll
Oh,
just
that's
deal with
okay.
it.
It might be a better picture if you have your glasses off and I'm blurry.
You're fine.
So To Spark a Match, this is the second book in the Matchmaker
Yes,
series, correct? Okay.
it
And there's
is.
going to be three total. Am I right?
That's correct. And the third one, I just did the cover review on that. If you look at my social media, super adorable cover.
It is.
It's one of my favorites. It's called Meeting Her Match. I didn't come up with the title for that one either, but nor did I have much to do with. A lot of people ask us if we
Yeah.
have a lot to do with the covers, and look. So for this one, I mean, really, all I did and what I always do. I'm trying to get this in the thing.
I know.
I just did a scene and character description, and so in the background, you can't see it here, but
Hmm.
this is actually Delmonico's, and it plays a key role in this particular
Oh.
thing. And then she, Miss Adelaide Devine, normally, because she's unmarried, she would be wearing pastels, but there's a reason why she's wearing the jewel tones. But you have to read the book to find out.
Okay. Now that just sparked my interest because I know nothing about color as far as stresses and marital status. So do tell, what's that
Oh,
about?
right. So, well, especially within the New York 400, there were
Okay.
a lot of rules. A lot in
Okay.
the New York 400. What that is, so I write during the Gilded Age,
Hmm.
which was began right a little bit after the Civil War, and there's some debate about when it ended.
Okay.
People say the turn of the century. I actually think it ended more like directly before World War One, and right when they started imposing income tax on
Hmm.
people because they, all of these. By this time, we're talking second, third generation of wealth, and they're not making new wealth. They're
Right.
starting to lose it. So then all of a sudden
Right.
they have to pay income tax. So they lost all of these big mansions. So, but the dress code was pretty much when you made your debut, young ladies made their debuts like between 17, sometimes 18 years old.
Hmm.
Um, and they were expected to wear the white and the creams,
Okay.
the ivories. You did not see, a 18-year-old running around in scarlet. Like that would be scandalous,
Scandalous.
uh,
Okay.
scandalous, or like a royal blue. You might be able to get away with like a pale, pale blue, maybe in Newport for the summer, but you had to be but not at a ball. No way. So, yes. So, and then this one, I think this one takes place. I'm gonna have to look. It's like toward the 1889, maybe 1888. 1888.
There you go.
Go figure.
Look at
Um,
you.
so what was happening during this time as well is that like in 1885, bustles just exploded. I mean, it
Right.
really looked like women were wearing barrels on their behinds and they were
Hmm.
very uncomfortable, but they started to gradually decrease in size. And so by 1888, it really like you can tell here because I did put in the setting thing. I'm like, don't put a big bustle on her. So
Yeah.
it's just a draping effect.
Yep.
But yes, you had to be careful. You could not
Oh,
wear those jewel tone colors. But Adelaide is wearing them.
she
And why is
is.
that okay? Well, you have to read the book.
You have to read the book. Oh, now I'm really interested in that. I wonder if she's posing as a married woman. I don't know. I haven't read the book, so I'm not doing any spoilers or secrets. I'm just guessing.
I'm
I
just going to
didn't.
tell you no, she's not. I'm going to
Okay.
answer that question.
You're like, don't mislead my readers. No, she's not posing as a married woman. Okay. All right. Well, I love the emerald green, and I would have been scandalous because I would have worn red. So that's just where
Yes.
I would have been the scandal of the town back in the day.
Yes, it was especially with the red. I
Yes.
would have worn like a deep purple.
A deep purple.
That's
Well,
what
you
I
and
did.
I entering a Gilded Age ball would have been the shock of the evening and the gossip of
Yeah,
the town.
indeed. We would have been they called them the ondites. We would have been the ondites of
Ooh,
the upper crust.
I kind of
Yes.
like that. This is good.
Yeah.
I like where this is going. I'm sensing a new book collaboration. And I'll come in my sweeping red gown and everybody will think I'm alive, but I'm really the ghost that's accompanying you. And that'll be
Oh,
that'll be my twist on the book. How about that?
well, okay. I mean, speaking, it was funny. I was thinking about you the other day because I'm
Uh-oh.
writing a new series, and it's the Meriwether Academy for Young Ladies. It's not a
Ooh.
typical academy. It's poor. Her name finally just stuck. I've been through about 20 names for this heroine. I don't know about you, but starting a new series is
Yeah.
always it's always so difficult for me, and no one has cooperated. Not one single character. So it's going to be Annalise and Rennick are the two, the
Ooh.
heroine and the hero, and so she has to go. Her fortune has been lost. It's her father died, and his
Okay.
business partner stole everything. Mhm.
Ooh.
So she goes. Her aunt Adelaide has is hasn't been around for a while, but Annalise is going to inherit her estate once she passes away.
Okay.
So that's the only place they have to go. She has to take her mother and her sister there.
Okay.
Well, they get there, and it looks like it's like a castle, and it looks like something out of a gothic novel. Thinking
Ooh.
about you, and could it possibly be haunted? Because there
Ooh.
are all these noises in the night, which is scaring away the young ladies who have come to attend the academy.
I love it already.
There you go.
Sign me up.
We might have to conference at some point about ghost and
Yes,
things that we do.
absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Ghosts are so much fun to write, especially the friendly ones and the mischievous ones.
Yeah, exactly. I've
Awesome.
not written a ghost story before, so we'll see how this goes.
But I think it's fun. And I think you'll have a fun twist on it too, because unlike me, who wants to keep everything dark and dreary, there'll probably be a hefty sense of humor with your ghosts, I would only imagine.
Where it would be like, yes, Lucille Ball-esque.
There you go. Perfect. That's a great way to describe it. Lucille Ball-esque. I like that.
Yes,
That's
that's how I
good.
describe my writing, because everyone's like, "What do you write?" And it's like, well, it's historical romantic comedy, but it's definitely out there. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
it's a little quirky, a
It
little weird.
is. It is. But that's what makes it different too, because it's not just the standard historical romance, which nothing is wrong with that, by the way. I read that all the time. But when you're
Yes, so
really
I
wanting something with a little bit of flair or quirk or different
yeah.
humor, it's fun. Okay, so back to Spark a Match. You had me at the line where a rather dismal prospect, but one that will allow her to concentrate on her darling cats. And I'm
Yes.
such a cat lady.
Well, and I normally always have animals in my books.
Okay.
From the very beginning. Well, I'm not quite sure about that. I don't really remember a change of fortune, but
Okay.
I am definitely an animal person. But I normally concentrate on. I've had a lot of dogs. Like I've had Winston. He was the pirate dog. He had one eye and a patch, and he loved it when people spoke pirate talk to him. Um, I've had like miniature ponies and regular ponies and surly horses
Mhm.
and let's see what else. I've had raccoons and so, but I've never really had cats. So when I started this series, you always have to figure out what is your character's quirk?
Right.
What's gonna, and you can expand on that and
Mhm.
build on it. So that would like Adelaide's gonna be the character of mine who is gonna surround herself with cats.
Mm.
And so I don't know that much about cats, Jamie. I've never had a cat
What?
before. No, I've never. My brother had an adorable cat. Its name was Doodles, and I was actually thinking about taking like he asked me because he knew I loved it if I wanted this cat. But I was like, you know what I mean? I was just out of college, just traveling around a
Yeah.
lot. And I'm like, oh, and probably not, so I didn't take Doodles.
Mm.
And then I just turned, yeah, I am definitely a dog person.
Okay.
So I've had like a ton of readers just send me stuff about their cats. And she doesn't have like one cat.
No.
She goes and she rescues cats.
Mhm.
So, and they seem to find her.
Mhm.
And so she has this whole collection of cats. So, one of the things that you will enjoy about the book is that she decides that cats need to become fashionable because they within the New York 400, cats should become fashionable. So she goes to extreme measures to convince Miss Camilla Pierpont,
Oh,
who
ooh.
she is the heroine of the third book, but
Okay.
she is a matchmaker and she is one of the leaders of society.
Okay.
So Adelaide keeps badgering her that because she knows if people would see Camilla Pierpont having a cat draped over her arm or carrying it in a purse or whatever, everyone would be clamoring to have cats. And then she could, because I mean, she has cats everywhere. She has them stashed in Newport, and she has them stashed in her house on the Hudson, and
I
she has them
love it.
stashed in Fifth Avenue. I mean,
I
she
love
has
it.
cats everywhere. And so, and she comes up, she finds another cat, Harvey, I believe
Mhm.
his name is. He plays a part right at the beginning with Gideon. And
Okay.
so the big thing is Gideon and Camilla. Well, Camilla is she's going to try to take Adelaide in hand and turn
Okay.
her fashionable. And
Okay.
there's a reason for that. And but she thinks it's a problem that Adelaide has all these cats because she's known as this crazy cat lady. So all of a sudden there's this kitten, Harvey. And Camilla's like, you shouldn't keep him. Well, as soon as Adelaide finds a cat, she immediately names it because
Oh,
you
of
can't get
course.
rid of a cat
Right.
who's already has a name.
It's the
So,
rule.
and it
Mhm.
goes to and her big thing is to try to convince Gideon that he is truly deep down a cat person and he wants nothing more than to take on Harvey.
Oh
But
my gosh.
but so Gideon has a dog. Oh, Jamie, I think his name's Mo, maybe. And he's a mutt and he's very scary. And Gideon is afraid that Mo would try to eat Harvey. And so, do they meet? They
Mm.
might. Does Harvey survive? Mm,
Mm.
that is the question.
You don't need any other plot for this book. Like, I mean, nothing else needs to happen. It's the story of
Yes.
Harvey and Mo and their owners right there.
Yes. And the cats. And yes. And when does society actually go ahead and decide that cats are fashionable or
I think
not?
they
Or
should. I think they should.
Wow, you'll have to read the
Again, you
book.
have to read it. Right.
You
Right.
have to read it.
All these cliffhangers, they're killing me. They're just killing me.
Yes.
Oh, but I relate to the whole cat thing finding you because I have told my husband many times we live out in the country on an old country road, and people will legitimately find our driveway and dump kittens, which is awful. But I told my
Oh,
husband they have to do that because they know I will envelope them into my life and I will rehome them. I will find them places to go. I just, that they need saving. And my husband's like, stop saving them so people stop leaving them. And I'm like, no, I can't.
we're still going to leave them, and I have to save them.
Exactly. You can't leave these
Exactly.
babies in the woods.
Which isn't that? Yeah, it's very
Yes.
sad.
It
But
is
good
sad
for you.
when, yes, it's sad when people do that with their cats, though, or their puppies. It's just, I don't understand that. But I love that you have a heroine who's a cat lady.
Yes, I finally have a cat lady.
Yes,
And
that's
I'll
awesome.
probably bring cats back again because they were fun to write. And readers just kept sending me all sorts of tidbits, and like that's the best.
Right.
When they send you, I mean, readers send me a lot of names. I've because I just they're from their family trees, and then they always give me details about that. So that's how I came up with the Annalise. I got that from Becky, and then Rennick. I gotta go back and see who's. I actually found that when I was on an airplane going back to a high school reunion just a month ago.
Okay.
And so I was trolling through. I didn't even take my laptop. I was like, I'm not going to work.
Right.
Wow, I'm going back to my hometown. So I was trolling through there, and I'm like, Rennick. So now I need to go back and find who left that comment so I can thank them, because I think that definitely he's okay. He's been in 2 chapters now, and he hasn't
Okay.
bombed, so should be okay.
Well,
We'll
that's
see.
good. That's good. That's a good name.
Yes,
That's a good name. I like the name
yes,
Gideon too. And he's an intelligence agent
yes.
in this
He
book.
is.
So is there
Mhm.
mystery in this novel as well?
There is.
Okay.
Yes. There, like in the first book in the series, Match in the Making, there wasn't as much mystery as I normally put in. Like we were
Okay.
just getting out of COVID. And I don't know about you, but like COVID, it was so difficult to write comedy during COVID.
Yes,
And
I'm
like so right
sure.
now I'm in an office that's in my house.
Hmm.
This is not where I normally write. We built a she shed for me in the backyard because I could not write with Al working from home in the house. It
Sure.
just, it was, well, you know what? I mean, it might have worked out, but I have all these little things that I do when I get stuck.
Okay.
I vacuum, I talk to myself, or I'll put on headphones and I sing. And
Hmm.
so I was really stuck, and he has all these conference calls. So I,
Oh,
I tell him, Al and I've been married forever. So, and people who know us are just like, they just think this is so typical us. So I literally tell him, Jamie, I'm like, I put on those over the ear headphones.
hmm.
I was looking just hot. And I said, I'm stuck. So I'm like, if you hear me singing, just ignore it. I'm like, I cannot get out of this chapter. I can't figure it out. And this is what I have to do. So I was listening to Madonna, vintage Madonna, borderline. And I'm in this room right here, and I'm kind of, dancing around. And I look up, and he is standing. Oh, right over here is the door. And I was like, so I, take off and I'm like, what part of ignore me are you not understanding? Because, well, that was just too adorable for words. So I guess I said, well, I'll show you adorable. And then the next thing you know, we're like, we have to build a she shed. So we did. So, so when we finally got out of COVID, so Match in the Making is really more just a typical historical romantic comedy.
Okay.
There's not that much mystery because the one I wrote, the Bleecker Street Inquiry Agency, is what I wrote during COVID, and that was all mystery because they were running an inquiry agency,
Right.
and I just needed okay, I thought to disguise a heart, it was Eunice's story, and it was such a complicated mystery. I mean, I had about 7 storyboards going, and again, I'm down in the shed. I think there was a blizzard. So
Gosh.
shoveling my way down across the backyard, right, to get to work.
Right.
And I said, at that point, I said, I'm never writing another mystery again. This is just going to kill me. But then that just seems to be my sweet spot.
Yeah.
So I made A Match in the Making is more rom-com, but then to spark a match, I put a mystery in, and then there's another mystery in Meeting Her Match as well. So
Okay. All right. Sounds like so much fun. And readers can just thoroughly enjoy and get enveloped in the Gilded Age, because your books are always so interesting with the historical tidbits that you throw in there too that we don't necessarily know, because it's a
it is,
unique
like, I don't know
time.
about you, but I didn't learn about the Gilded Age when I was going through school.
I didn't either.
There was mention of the Industrial Revolution.
Right.
There's nothing about this Gilded Age.
Mm-mm.
And when I actually started writing historicals, that's not what I started off writing when I first began writing. I
Okay.
tried a variety of different genres. I wrote a Regency, and
Okay.
it was called A Marriage of Inconvenience. But I had so many hits from agents that I realized that historical romance was my sweet spot. You
Mm-hmm.
know, so well, that's the one that I signed with my first agent with, and then while she was shopping that around, um, I picked up a book about Consuela and Alva Vanderbilt, and I was fascinated. And I was
Yeah.
like, I've never read this before. And so then my agent never sold that book, and I was actually going to stop writing because
Oh,
I had a timeline for everything. I had a timeline for how long I was going to give it to try to break into the industry. I had a timeline for how long I would give an agent to sell my book.
sure.
And so no, I was coming up on that timeline. She had not sold A Marriage of Inconvenience, and she had interest, but it was the one publishing house that wanted to buy it wanted me to naughty it up, and
Mm,
a lot. And I said no. That's not my thing. It's definitely just a clean read, more
mm-hmm.
promise. I'm not doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So then I'm like, that's it. I majored in fashion, and I worked in the industry until I had my son, and then I was a stay-at-home mom. But my son was starting to get older by this point. Here I am,
Okay.
like it took me 5 years and 7 manuscripts to even get an agent, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's it. I'm going back to fashion. And then I was cleaning the bathtub, and I was waiting for the scrubbing bubbles to work because
Right.
I'm going to believe that advertised. They've never worked, but so I'm just
They
standing
don't,
there,
but yes.
and
Mm-hmm.
I had this whole book just like it was just in my head because I had said like that's it. I'm going back to fashion. And I told my agent that I said I'm not. No, I'm obviously I can't figure out how to break into this industry. And there comes a time when you have to say okay,
Yeah.
because yeah, Dom's in middle school. I'm perfectly capable of going back and getting like a job.
Right.
So um, and so I'm like, huh. So what do I do? Right. And I'm really OCD about cleaning. So I
Okay.
can't stop cleaning, even though I have a book in my head. So I just made on post-it notes. I put all these, I just started writing all these notes. And luckily I numbered them because they were all over the place when I was done. And then and when I was done cleaning, I gathered them up and I sat down and I started writing. My husband was like, I thought you said you were done. Like you weren't going to write anymore. I'm like, I know these characters won't come out of my head. Like they'll be
Right.
stuck there. Like they'll just plague me. I just have to
Mm-hmm.
write this book and then I'm done. And that was a change of fortune. And my agent sold it like to Bethany House like a month and a half later.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but it was all, but I, because of that Consuela and Alva Vanderbilt book, that's why I set it in the Gilded Age.
Gilded Age.
And then it just, well, like how you write spooky, you're
Right.
writing
Yeah.
the creepy, and you kind of do get branded, and that's what is
Mm-hmm.
expected
Mm-hmm.
for you to write. So I'm expected to write Gilded Age. So I
Right.
know more about the Gilded Age than I ever thought I would know.
That's so fun though. And isn't it great when you can start focusing on an area of history though that isn't known as well? Because you're right. Like in school, I learned about the industrial age and all of that, but there was talk of Vanderbilt as it related to the industrial age and the wealth that
Yes.
they amassed because of their business. But it wasn't until years later that I was introduced to this society.
Yes.
And
And
I think
it was crazy
it was a
society.
culture. It was its
Yeah.
own culture.
Yeah. And it was so elitist. And
Yep.
there are so many scandals that I have enough fodder for stories for, decades.
Perfect.
It's just amazing.
It's crazy. That's good. Well, that means that we're going to have lots of more Jen Turano books coming out for decades. Y'all heard it here, right
That's
here
right.
on Madlet Musings.
Although I am old, I'm just going to put that out there.
It doesn't matter. Decades. You just said decades. So
Yeah, I know I did, didn't I? I'm thinking, wait a minute. How old would I be then? Yeah, the next time you guys will see me, I'll be like with my walker here, like, propped up. Yeah.
Don't worry,
Mhm.
I'll make sure I visit you when you're in a home and we'll do a podcast and I'll be like in my walker going, okay, Jen, tell me about the
What
latest.
are you writing about now? Yeah. And I'll be like, well, I can't remember the characters. But see, that's not going to be unusual because I never remember the characters. Like, the only reason I remembered it was Adelaide and Gideon was because you and I were talking about it right before I got on. And I've had a couple podcasts about this book because normally I'm like, and I remember she's Gwendolyn because somebody was asking me about her.
Okay.
What is his name? I just took off my glasses. So, Walter.
Walter. Okay.
Gwendolyn and Walter. But yeah, don't like people ask me that all the time. And they'll be like, "What was that book you wrote?" And it
Mhm.
had, I do remember Lucetta Plum. She was in playing the part, and the only reason I remember her is because one of my writer friends ruined a name for me. Um, and I don't know if you're this sensitive about names. I am incredibly sensitive
Oh
with
yeah.
names. And I was writing this book, and it wasn't playing the part. It was the one before that. No idea which one that would have been. But so I was writing that book, and so I was talking to this writer friend of mine, and I said, "Oh, this hero Isaac is giving me such a hard time." And he goes, "That's my friend Rick. And
Mhm.
if you're watching this, Rick, I'm still mad." He goes, Jen, every time I hear the name Isaac, I immediately think of the bartender from The Love Boat.
Oh no.
So from that point forward, that's all I could see was that character, and the theme song from The
The
Love Boat
Love
kept
Boat.
running through my mind. So you remember that? I don't want to get that. I don't want to get that song stuck in everybody else's
Yeah.
mind, but
It's already in
so
mine now. Thanks.
no, I'm so sorry about that. So I tried to like write through it and I just couldn't. So I called Rick back and I said, listen, you just totally ruined Isaac for me forever. I'm never going to be able to use that. I'm like halfway done with this book and I needed, I knew he was checking out his ancestry and he has like old Boston society.
Oh,
So I'm
okay.
like,
Yep.
who knows out? So he gave me Everett. And then I'm
Oh,
like,
that
well,
makes
because of the problems that you have caused me, you now need to find me a heroine name too. So he came up with Lucetta Plum, who was like this big society lady, one of his ancestors. So I do remember her just because that was hilarious because I was shaking him down for names. So like,
that is awesome. But
and
you're so
somebody
right.
what?
You're so right though about names and the
Yeah,
associations. There
and
was
it's so,
one book I
so
went to pick. I went to pick up and read because I was so excited to read it, and I saw the name of the hero, and it associated with a boy when I was little who would never leave me alone, and he always had a nose that needed cleaning, and
oh
I had to put the book away. I'm like, I'm sorry, it's probably a great book, but I cannot get past this name.
yeah. It is like that. And so I have to use like old fashioned names. And one of my favorite names is Temperance Flower Dew. And I got so many letters with that name. Like that was a ridiculous name to make up. And I'm like, I didn't actually make that up. My girlfriend from high school, Sonia West, she was looking into her ancestors. And so she sent me this thing and she's like, Jen, I just found Temperance Flower Dew in my family tree. And she also had Mercy Minor. So
Oh
I
my
said, well,
goodness.
may I have those? And she said, well, of course, go ahead, use them. And so, oh gosh, is it Caught by Surprise? I think is Temperance story. But everyone was like, I can't believe you made up that name. And I'm like, I didn't. Like, they are authentic and they are authentic to the time. But I like unusual names.
Yeah.
So I was recently going to use Zelma.
Ooh, I like
Um,
that.
well, okay. And then somebody tells me, like, I should never put out like what I'm actually thinking before I actually have it like set in stone. So first somebody says, that sounds like a name that should be in Harry Potter.
Oh,
So then I'm like, oh, like so I'm seeing scenes from Harry Potter. And then
yeah.
somebody goes, that's really close to Velma from Scooby Doo.
Oh
So now
no.
I can't use Zelma because I'm thinking of Velma from
Velma.
Scooby Doo. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
Well,
It's true.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I
It
had to do,
is.
and I don't know if you've done this either, but I had to have, I shouldn't say had to, but a reader offered to go through all my books and literally log all the names that I've used of even sub characters. Because I'm far enough now into writing books, like I'm on my 13th, and I'm like, have I ever used this name? Like,
Yeah.
and I keep
You know,
finding myself going back to names I'm comfortable with.
Yes, and you can actually Bethany House actually, I believe, has list of all of your characters.
Oh,
They will have amassed that, and I haven't asked for that for a few years, but I did like back probably yeah when I was like about book 10 or so,
uh-huh.
because I can't like the sub characters. Well, that doesn't really unless it's like a really cool sub character that everybody loves, and then all of a
Right,
sudden you're using it again, right?
right.
But make a note to ask them that if they still do that because they might have a complete list of your
I'll
characters.
have to check on that. Yeah, yeah. The
Yeah.
best name that I used that I pulled out with a story is, I think it's pronounced Perliette, but I took it off of a gravestone, a local gravestone. And I've gotten
Oh,
more emails asking, is it pronounced Perliette or Perliette or how's it pronounced? I'm like, I don't know. I couldn't ask her. She was dead.
yeah.
So
You know
not
this.
entirely sure.
Yeah, I have Permilia gave me some trouble, and then I found someone who had an ancestor, and they told me how to pronounce.
Aha.
And like, and I always have trouble with Penelope. Oh, Penelope used to kill me in my youth because I like, I'm from a small town in
Yeah.
Ohio. We did not have any Penelopes running around, and I am really bad with phonetics. I've
Okay.
always been this way. I blame my fourth grade teacher, for God's sake. But so I used to think it was Penelope for like the
Oh,
longest.
be able to read a book with that name in it again. It's going to be
It's
Penelope.
Penelope. It's Penelope, and then I think I actually met someone, and when I was a store manager of a department store, and I'm reading this young woman's application, and I'm like, so Penelope, what was your last job like or something? And she's like, it's Penelope, and I just started crying, and I'm like, she's never going to want to work for me because clearly I'm just an idiot, but I had never seen it like in print. So,
That's awesome. Oh my gosh. Well, I love that. So on that note, Jen, everybody needs to run out to get to Spark a Match. I think it's a great read, and you can get the first one too in the trilogy. And if people want to find out more about your books and where they can read the whole backlist, where do we go?
well, you can go to jentoronto.com.
Okay.
That has that's just my website. You can just, um, you can find me on Facebook, Jen Toronto Author, Instagram, Jen Toronto Author, and that's about all I do. I'm not doing TikTok. Could you see me on TikTok?
I could actually, but
No, I'm not
no.
doing that. So,
Well, you could have your husband film when you do your little dances with your over the ear headphones. I think those would be really popular.
so okay, so Al, I'm just gonna say he is the worst at taking pictures or videoing or anything. I had gone out with we had gone out with a couple last like 2 weekends ago, right? And so my girlfriend Rachel and I wanted a picture taken. I actually dedicated this. This book is actually dedicated to my girlfriend Rachel. She's like
Okay.
we go and see a lot of bands and stuff together.
Mhm.
So Al just showed me the pictures that he actually took, like candids.
Mhm.
Like I mean, normally, like when you're doing a selfie, you try to make sure you like
Oh
you're
yeah.
it up, your
Mhm.
face is okay. I look like Jabba the Hutt. I mean, in like every single picture. And Rachel, she is really in great shape. The angle he took has her arms looking like she's like works out at Go Gym as a guy, Bill.
Oh
Like
no.
also I won't be posting those, but in
Ah.
videos, he works with videos. I tried to get him to take videos of me when we first opened up the she shed,
Mhm.
and so walking around, and he cut my head off. Like all you see
Oh,
is my body walking around, showing around. So no, he will not be taking any pictures of me for TikTok
he
or
won't
any
be your new
pictures at all.
producer.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, fun. Well, Jen, this has been such a blast chatting, and I'm sure we'll do it again in the future. But thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. It was fun.